What's up, Pescados? We're going to do a lesson on graphing, and we're going to do stem and leaf plots today. I'm going to make this quick. Our essential question: how can you collect, organize, and display data? Learning target: I will analyze, interpret, and evaluate relationships of data in stem and leaf plots. All right. Definition of stem and leaf plot: a graph that is used to organize data in numerical order according to place value. The stem represents the first digit or digits. The leaves represent the last digit. A key shows you how to read the place value. I'm going to explain all that coming up here. Here's a real world example. Why do we use graphs? Graphs make data easier to read. Here's an example of a train station departure times. So this is right from the internet, from Seattle, Washington. And I want to point out the hour, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holiday little headings up here. All right, notice the hour column. You can easily glance at the hour you need and then the minutes throughout that hour trains are leaving. So if I need to be somewhere by 9, I can look at the 8 o'clock, 8 a.m., 8 o'clock trains, and then this is my stem. And then look at when the different trains are going to be departing. I have 4 minutes after 8, 11 minutes after 8, 19 minutes after 8, and so on. Saturday, Sunday, holiday schedules are just different. These are still leaves, and this is the stem you would read across. So if it was Saturday and I needed to get somewhere, I could look here and I would just go over here. A couple little things about this one that is different. For some reason they put an 04 here. It might just be so they don't think I don't know why they put up, maybe so it looks like time when you look at these like this. Oh, notice over here they did not put an 04. And then their key down here really only pertains to these highlighted sections. All right. Not a normal key. So they assume you already know how to read a stem and leaf plot. What are some times around 2 p.m. that trains are leaving? Pause the video if you need time. All right. So find your hour, PM, 2, and then look. If you said 2:04, 2:14, those are good answers. If you said 1:54 or 1:44, those are good answers too because they're around 2 p.m. All right. What if all those times were listed just like this, and I went just from 5:18 to 5:18 to 8:39. All right. And I listed those times right here. That would be a mess to look at. I got tired of typing, so I stopped. All right. So, moving on. Why do we call it a stem and leaf? The stem is the bigger part and the thicker part, and then the leaves are the individual pieces here. So the stem is our tens in this case, and the leaves are our ones in this case. All right. So what makes a good stem and leaf plot? You need a title, a stem column, and a leaf column, and a key. The key is so important. I know this one didn't have a key, but I showed you this one just so you could see it with like a visual representation. But it does say tens and ones, which is kind of like a key. All right. In this case, look at the 14 and this little line right here. And the line means a decimal point, and notice it says decimal point right here for this line, and then we have a 2 over here. So it means 14 and 2/10 of a second. So if we come up here, we have 14, and we have our 2/10 of a second. Okay? So the key is super important. It lets you know how the line is separating the stem and leaf. Here's an example of a stem and leaf with fractions. Again, look at the key down here. We've got our key. We have our line, and we have a half. A 3 line and then the half, which equals 3.5. So if we come up here, we have 3.5. And once you understand it, it's not that hard to look at and figure out. All right, some things to consider about stem and leaf plots. Leaves should go from smallest to greatest. I've seen them when they're not smallest to greatest, but they should be smallest to greatest. You might want to write them out and put them in different categories of like 1s, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then put them in order on your actual leaf, however you want to do it. Leaves are single digits, no commas. We always know that leaves are single digits. This is a 1 and an 8, not an 18. So we don't have to put commas, although I've seen them with commas, and actually on the example before with the one that looks like a branch and a leaf, they put commas. We would always put commas in our data if we were listing numbers out like this, but you do not need to put them in your stem and leaf plot. If there is no leaf, skip that stem. So if you look over here, down here my key says that this is a 50 and a 7, so 57. Notice I have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Well, notice on the 4 here, the 40, I have nothing. Don't assume we would put a 0 because that would make it a 40, and there is no 40 up here in our stem and leaf. Not our stem and leaf, our data. Okay? Notice that there is a 10 here, a 1 and a 0. There is a 10. So do not put a 0 here. That would mean there's a 40, okay? I have seen it where they would just skip putting this 4 on here altogether. All right? Look for patterns in the same leaf section, the same row. Notice this would be a 10 and a 4 and a 10 and a 4. So there's two 14s in this data, 14 and a 14. All right? If you look here, I have a 1 and an 8 and a 1 and an 8, but they are not the same. This one right here is a 1, and this one's an 8. This is actually a 21, and this one is actually a 28. So be very careful when you're looking for patterns and if you're looking for ones that repeat themselves. Okay? And the last thing is always look at the key. The key will tell you how to interpret this thing. All right? So, moving on. I gave you 2 pages for practice on your downloadable Google slide. All right? And you have one with people's ages, and you have, you can fill it in and you make sure you put the key. And putting these numbers in order might help make this easier. So you might want to write all these down and put them into a group of 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. And then when you put it on here, it's a lot easier. It's up to you. Then I put one on here with rainfall in Denton. Same idea. This time it is with decimals though. And so your key needs to represent that. And putting these in order might make it easier also. So in closing, what is the stem? It's our larger number in the place value. Could be the ones place, the tens, the hundreds. The leaf represents individual leaves, individual place values. So depending on what the key says, this is either right here, this is either a 10 or it's a 1.0. We don't know until we see the key. This is either a 14 or a 1.4. And if we look at what is the key, in this case, that line represents a decimal. So this would be a 1, and that would be a 1.4. And notice my key says 5.7. And that's it. Go back and look at any of this video anytime you need. I know I went fast, but I was trying to make it short. Adios.